from Praise Pod. Stay tuned. Stay blessed.
What's up, guys? My name's Alexis, your host with Praises in the Pod, and I'm so excited to be in the studio with two sisters. This is the first time we've had three girly pops in the studio at once, so that is always fun. But to be very transparent with you, Kim, you already heard her testimony. Have we recorded it yet? Absolutely not.
Okay.
We haven't, and we're going to be very transparent about that. So we may be saying a few things that you already heard or not. We don't know, but here we go. This is Stephanie, her sister, and we're going to be talking about their childhood and her testimony by herself, and then what that looks like as adults. And so we're really excited. So first, we're going to start off in prayer, and then we're going to jump right in. So here we go. Lord, Heavenly Father, thank you for all that you have done in our lives, all that you're doing in our lives, Lord God. You just have had your hand on top of us all these years, and we are so thankful for that. We pray that you speak to us today and through us. We pray that you calm our nerves and let this episode glorify you. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Amen. All right, Stephanie, I am so excited to hear about you and your testimony and what that looks like today. But let's talk about a little bit about your childhood and how you got here.
So my dad was in the Air Force, and we moved here when I was 2, and he ended up retiring here. So Warner Robins is all I've ever known. We started going to Southside when I was really young. I'm not exactly sure.
Like kindergarten, first grade.
So my only church I ever knew until adulthood, and we were really involved, always there on Sunday school, Wednesday night Awana, and I would say all the way through middle school and high school. I was involved in the middle school, high school programs, going to small group, all of that, even being a Sunday school teacher for elementary school, like just that was what was normal. Mm-hmm. Like that's what my friends did too. It's like we all were volunteering, and that's what I was heavily involved in the church.
So really, if the doors were open, you were there.
Yeah.
Like, wow, that is crazy. Because now, even though like you were a child when y'all first started coming, like now you're adults, you don't live here. She actually flew in from Hawaii, but we will get there. So like just to be able to say that your family is still a part of that community, 20 more plus years later, like that is absolutely incredible. So tell us a little bit about what y'all's, maybe Kim, like this is where you'll jump in a little bit, but tell us a little bit about what y'all's relationship looked like as kids.
We are 3 years apart, almost exactly. And we do have an older brother too. But I'm the middle child. And I would definitely say whoever was doing the cooler thing is where I went. Definitely was the middle child. But I would say a little bit of a peacekeeper, a little bit of a pot stirrer, would be a perfect way to describe myself.
Yeah.
In my younger years, Stephanie and I are very close now, but when we were younger, I was her bully for sure.
Yeah.
I'd say about the time I was 16, like she became my best friend, like that stuff was put behind us, but we're starting off really early in the episode to be getting worked up, but that's the truth, is I was cruel to Stephanie.
Do you think necessarily that it was like just like a jealousy type of thing?
Absolutely.
Because she was the baby and
I don't even know if it was that, because I don't even look at it. I mean, yes, in our older years, I can look back and be like, well, some things were definitely unfair around here. But I don't think I look back and say like it was because of a thing my parents did, or even like I was jealous of Robbie and Stephanie's relationship. I think it was just insecurities, truly, for me, was like, how can I make myself feel better by putting someone else down?
Yeah.
That was it. And I did, for sure. And it honestly was something I never apologized for. Like, even like when we did become best friends, it wasn't something that I was like hard stop. And you can kind of like speak on that too, because I don't know exactly, did it stop in high school? Like when, like I said, I can pinpoint like when I got my driver's license is when I really feel like all of a sudden I was like, you're my best friend. We're going to do everything together. Even though I had other friends, I was just like, well, you're the most available because she couldn't drive.
Well, I feel that, you know.
Which worked for me because it was like, I think growing up as the younger sister, I wanted her to love me, to be friends with me, but she didn't want that. Like, it was, if her friends were over, her friends would let me hang out, but she'd be like, leave us alone, don't, which is like normal.
Typical, yeah.
Right. But I wanted her approval and I wanted her friendship. So like, she can kick me and kick me and kick me, and it's going to hurt my feelings. But like, I also wasn't going to stay mad at her because I was like, please just love me.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't let it stay between us. But definitely when like she said, when she turned 16, yes, I think
I was still sometimes mean, but it wasn't like,
you're quick to say something. She's going to call me out if I do something that like I shouldn't have been doing or whatever. Like, she's going to tell me straight up, like, and maybe not say it in the nicest way at all. Probably the meanest way that you could say it. That also then I don't want to correct my behavior for that. It almost is just like, I don't know, like it wasn't gentle, so then it's not going to
push
like
you to do it even more.
yes.
And then the tension's going to build because you've already called her out about it. You still want to do it because she called you out about it, and now you're going to continue to like nag about it and try to call her out too.
Yes.
Try to just grow on that.
But, and I will say, like, tables turned. She wanted to hang out with my friends, and then all of a sudden it kind of did feel like I wanted to be friends with her friends, and then she kind of was the one who was like, no. Like, these are my friends. So it was just funny how we would, like, turn, like, you know, take turns on that kind of stuff. But, I mean, like I said, I feel like that is the turning point, is I stopped being cruel. We started leaning into each other. I kind of stopped my middle child behavior as far as I wasn't trying to please Robbie as much as I used to because I think I'd kind of moved on with this was my best friend. By then, Robbie was in who's now his wife. Like, he was already in that relationship. So that was also the turning point too, is that
was his best. Stacy was his best friend. And so like he was.
So I leaned into
He kicked y'all to
Stephanie.
the curb, basically.
Well, it would be more so her. Me and Robbie being like 6 years apart.
Yeah, it was a lot different.
He ended up being like my high school pastor my senior year. Like, so me and Robbie have a completely different, like, our age gap made us very far apart and different. And like, my guy friends in middle school, that was their middle school leader. So like, there was that dynamic where me and Kim, being closer in age, we're just more friends.
Yeah.
And like, you could be honest with me.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to be telling Robbie anything like you're a pastor, or like you're working with our middle school group and stuff like that.
Yeah. So we kind of talked about y'all separately, but did you like face anything during this time? Like, y'all are going to church basically, but like, are you completely sold out for the Lord, or like, are you just kind of going because your parents are taking you to church?
I know in elementary school, like, I said the salvation prayer, I got baptized. Like, I was doing all the things that I thought, like, I'm a Christian. I've been raised in a Christian home. Like, it's really common that like everyone thinks they're Christians. We all go to church. Like, it's more normal to go to church than to not go to church here. So I thought that, like, I'm a Christian, and I think more so it was like I'm a good person. Like, I had the right foundation from my parents, just from like, we had a really like a calm, normal household. So I thought that I was on the right path in doing those things. And I wouldn't say I was a very insecure, maybe different from her. I was insecure with my friendships at school because I did have more strict parents. We weren't supposed to be dating, and all my girlfriends were dating in like middle school. And my parents wanted to know like where we are, who we're hanging out with, things that are actually really normal.
Very normal.
As a parent now, I always say my parents weren't strict. They just loved me. And I can see that now. But back then I was like, I felt like I had the most strict parents.
Yeah.
And so I was insecure in my friendships, I think, because I felt like I was lame compared to them, or I never really knew like exactly where I fit in, because I felt like I could be friends with a lot of groups of people. So I wanted to be friends with a lot, like whoever would accept me. That's just where I wanted to be.
Yeah, a chameleon, if you will. Just trying
definitely.
to blend in.
Yes.
Do you feel like that too, like about yourself and that? You were
It
like,
just-
I know my friends.
It truly was different. I did know my friends for the most part. Like, my core friends were good friends. My parents didn't worry about who I was hanging out with because they trusted my friends.
Yeah.
They did not trust hers. My mom has really good discernment when it comes to friendships, and whether I wanted to listen to it or not is different.
Yeah.
But she would be immediately like, that's not a good friend. She's only using you or such and such. But she had good discernment. So when I would say I had a very good best friend that we were doing everything together, and my parents never questioned, what are you doing? Who are you with when you're with her? It was always like, she's with Heather. Like, it's fine. Like, no worries.
Yeah.
I was more of like sneaking and lying from like, I would say middle school, probably like 8th grade, and then on all the way through high school. That's why my parents didn't trust me is I could look them dead in the eyes and completely lie about where I was going to be, who I was going to be with, what we were going to be doing. Like, because I knew that they would say no.
Yeah.
And that was going to be bottom line. It was never going to be, we're going to fight about it, or we're going to like, if I say this, they're going to change their mind. I knew it was a no. So then it was, I'm spending the night at this person's house, and that was it. And I was in a completely different place.
Yeah.
So
truly living a double life. That's really hard. Like as a high schooler, like especially, or honestly, you said 8th grade, so middle school too, but like living that extreme of a life where you're lying constantly, like it's heavy, and you don't even really know that it's so heavy and taking a toll on you until you're out of it. And you're like, man, like that was tough. That was a tough time. Like, why wasn't I just like honest, or, you know, like
it would have been a lot easier just to listen to my parents and to hang out with who I was supposed to be hanging out with.
Yes. Julie's like, yes, I told ya.
She was right. My mom was right.
Yes. There's so many times that I look back and I'm like, man, my mom was so right.
Just
but
cut
back
that.
then,
Happy Mother's Day, Julie.
yes. But I'm like, really, it takes a lot, and it really takes you until you get in that adult stage to
And
see those
motherhood.
things. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like all of a sudden it really is like,
starts
we might
clicking.
be crazier moms than she was.
You thought she was strict. Don't just wait. All right, so let's transition a little bit into maybe early years of adulthood, maybe, because y'all are best friends. At around 16 for you, you're like 13-ish. And so through high school, it was pretty rock solid.
I'd say so, yeah. I mean, and that's probably when she would say, like, I knew what she was doing ish. Like some of that stuff I wasn't seeing through either. But then I started to catch on, or I knew like what her friends were doing. But she was good at the double life. Like, I mean, I don't think I guessed everything that was going on until later on. And then, or like she filled in the blanks for me. But I would say it was about the time I was getting married that like Stephanie like met Tyler right after I got married.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Which it was crazy, because she was telling me a story about her and Tyler like yesterday, about how he was about to move to England, and then they met literally the month before he was moving. So tell us a little bit, how old were you then? Right after graduation, or?
Oh no, I was 21 when I met him. But I had just moved out of my parents' house. I was living with my best friend at the time, and was very much like, I'm not going to date. Like, this is going to be like my time. Just like being an adult and not having my parents know, like being on my back about everything. But I ended up meeting him in December of 2017. And on our first date, as he's like picked me up and he's like driving us to dinner, he was just like, oh yeah, so I'm moving to England next month. He's in the military. He's in the Air Force. And I was like, oh, this seems pointless. Like, this isn't what I thought. I thought he was stationed at Robbins, and that that would just be what it was. So I was just like more myself than I've ever been, I think, with any guy that I'd ever dated at that point in my life. Because there was no pressure. I thought I would never see him again. Like, that's just the truth. At the end of the night, I gave him a side hug and was like, this was fun, but bye. Like, yeah. And we ended up hanging out for the next 4 weeks until he moved, and still lying and deceitful, because I didn't tell my parents or Kim about him, because at that point I was like, I don't want one more failed relationship out in the open for my family.
and just, I mean, not to get into it, but on our last relationship, I called her out hard on it. And so I think I had lost some trust with her, because she didn't like my take on the relationship. And so it did kind
I
of
wanted privacy at that
Yes.
point
Yeah.
because I was tired of like my dating life being a conversation for the family. So I just wanted to keep it private, and I didn't know where it was going. He was moving to a different country.
Yeah.
So we did long distance, and I was going to go in March to go see him. I had already bought plane tickets. I had done everything. And then it was like, I'm going to a different country. I should probably tell my family.
This is a good time to bring it up, probably. Yeah.
And so I think I might have even told my mom first.
You did.
Because my mom was in the Army. My dad was in the Air Force. So like I thought maybe my mom will get it just a little bit. Like she'll understand that he's in a different country. I want to see him, that kind of thing. And I didn't live in their house, so I knew they couldn't tell me that I couldn't go, but that if they could tell me that I shouldn't go. I don't really remember how I ended up telling you.
Very passively, and you didn't say you were going to England. Like, she told me about him, and then you were like, and he lives in England. But she already told,
I was probably trying to talk him up. Like, hey guys,
Yes,
this is a
you
good
did,
guy. I met him, and like I'm just like trying to like get that approval first to then drop the bomb
So
of
then she says, he lives in England, and I go, well, when are you going to England? I'm not. He'll come back here next. And I said, okay. And I think a week later she goes, so I'm going to England.
Matter of fact, I lied. But I am going, and I really like him. So
and that probably was like the last big lie of mine.
Truly. Because after that,
There was
So
nothing
Tyler really changed you,
Yes.
basically, is where we're getting. Was there anything in that, because we jumped a little bit from like high school to 21, was there anything that was like super standout-ish at that time period, or like
18 and
just still
21 was pretty bad.
yeah.
not.
I think graduating high school, you get out of, like, I'm not in a small group. I go to church, like, I'm going on Sunday, but that, like, I wasn't hanging out with people from a small group or something like that. Like, there was no someone who's, like, keeping me accountable, or even I'm hanging out with people who are okay with what we're doing, and not someone who's like, why are you here? They're all like, well, we're all at the bar. So it's all like, no one's judging me for that. But yeah, like I love to drink, love to party, love to go visit my friends in college, because I stayed home for college. And so I love to go see them and like do all of that. And again, like not flaunting any of that. I was very like, I don't post about that on social media. My brother works at the church. My parents are really involved in the church.
Yeah.
So I was keeping that, like people knew, but I'm not posting about it. But yeah, like 18 and 21 was my wild, just, I didn't care.
Yeah.
And yeah.
So God sent Tyler at the right time, is what y'all are saying.
Absolutely.
So you go to England and
We date for,
pops off. You're like, this is my man.
yes, we dated long distance for a year and a half, flying back and forth, taking turns doing that. And yeah, we never broke up, nothing like that. Like it was hard. It was really hard. But for me, it was the best dating relationship I had ever had, because all we could do was talk. So all we could do was over communicate. Like if anything I was slightly upset about, he's going to know, because I can either ignore his text message or my tone changes on the phone, like whatever it is. And he would just like, well, just tell me.
Yeah.
And so we were just honest with each other, and there was just no other things that usually get in the way in a relationship. Like none of that could get in the way. We were just going to talk about it. And that's what I needed.
Yeah.
I needed someone like that, and not to get like the physical aspect that's usually the distraction. So we dated for a year and a half, and then he proposed in June of 2019. And I think we went away for like a day, and we were coming back, and we were like, everyone's going to be asking us, when are we getting married and everything. And I was like, I guess we have to wait like maybe next year and stuff. And I remember saying that to, I know my mom, maybe you, and they were like, no one expects you guys to wait for like a long engagement. You guys have been apart for so long. So we ended up having a 5-month engagement, turning around, getting married in November of 2019. And a week later, I moved to England with him.
Nice. Wow. So going back to a little bit about that first year and a half where y'all are dating, and, all you're saying is y'all can only overly communicate, right? And that just makes me think like y'all had such a good foundation of friendship and being able to like understand each other on a deeper level. Cause like we can be in person and we can have these surface level conversations, but for y'all, like y'all are digging deep, like y'all are having to learn each other from this long distance. So then when you do get together, it's like love is blind. But y'all aren't blind, but like y'all just understand more. All right, so you moved to England and then you're kind of there. We don't have to go really deep into England, but maybe you can tell us a little bit about what your day-to-day looks like, right? Because you pick up and move away from your family. That's all you've ever known is Warner Robins. Now you're living in another country by yourself and just your husband. So what does that look like too? Because year one of marriage, y'all only know each other, basically communicating over.
And for like a week visit at a time.
So tell us a little bit about that.
First time living with a guy. So there's that. I left my job behind here that I loved. And we knew that I wasn't going to be working in England, just like working in a different country was going to be a lot of hoops to jump through. So I'm just sitting at home all day, waiting for him to get home, trying to be the perfect wife, like making sure that I'm not bringing in money. So like the house is clean, cook dinner, all those things, like what I thought I needed to be doing. And I was really, really lonely. Driving on the other side of the road wasn't my favorite thing. So I'm not just going out and doing things when he's at work. I'm waiting for him to get home so that he's driving us. And we didn't really have friends. Like we had people that we knew that he worked with and we'd get together sometimes, but that was drinking, whatever, like pub culture is the big thing in England. And I would say I had people to do things with, but I was waiting on them to invite me. I'm still like looking for that approval of please just like me enough to invite me to get me out of the house. And a lot of phone calls to Kim and my mom because I was so lonely that I just wanted someone to talk to. Yeah. Our first year of marriage we didn't have issues. Like it wasn't a hard transition for us to be living together. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't hard. Like marriage wasn't hard to me. And I think it's just how we are together that we really are. I remember coming home the first time and just telling everyone we're partners. Like that is what Tyler is to me. He never made me feel less than for not working. Anytime I'd be like, oh, I'm sorry that I didn't get to this today. He was like, I don't expect you, he wasn't looking for what I thought the perfect wife was. That wasn't the expectation that he held for me.
So y'all just really have a few friends that y'all basically just go to the pub with. So y'all aren't going to church or anything.
No, we never even tried. We would talk to some people and they'd be like, oh, we go to this church on base. But they didn't. Growing up at Southside for so long is a great thing, but it's also something to compare to. And there's not a lot of churches like Southside. Yeah. And I felt like Southside was home and it was comfortable. So for me, I'm like, well, I rather listen to church online and know that it's J. Ray preaching or that who it's preaching and like know that it's going to be good rather than be a first time visitor in a church, be uncomfortable. I had never had to do that before. Yeah. So we would talk about it, but I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to be the new person.
So with you, Kim, like you're having to watch your younger sister go through all this like lonely seasons. Did you know that she was in a lonely season per se or?
Yeah, I did know that she was lonely. I try to fix that with like calling her every single day an hour. I was pregnant with Cohen pretty quickly into her moving over there, which she was kind of mad about. But I called her every morning on my way to work because she's 6 hours ahead of time. Mm-hmm. So when I'm calling her first thing in the morning, she's eating lunch. So I loved that time difference. I do not like Hawaii.
Yeah.
And so I would call her every single day because I was tired on my way to work. And then honestly, I think I'd usually call you on the way home too. Or she'd already be on the phone with my mom. Like we literally were 2 hours of her day at least on the phone every single day. We did know she was lonely. It also was during COVID, so none of us ever got to go over and see them there. We had planned a trip, but then I was pregnant and thought, well, there's no reason to try and risk going over there and getting stuck over there because that happened a couple of times where she couldn't come back to visit us or she'd come visit us, go back, and she's stuck because all of a sudden the country's back on lockdown.
Well, I'd have to like quarantine for 2 weeks once I would get back. And then after that, like you're counting down to get out of the house again. and then the country would lock down again. And so then it's like, oh, for 4 or 6 more weeks, I couldn't even go. We had friends that lived across the street. I could see into their backyard from our window. I couldn't even go sit in their backyard 6 feet away. We couldn't do any, like, we could not be around other people. It was like 1 walk a day. I couldn't go to the grocery store with Tyler. Only one person from your household could go.
This is sounding like Handmaid's Tale for real. I don't know if y'all have seen that. That's probably not a good, don't go watch it. It was BC. It was BC. It was BC.
So like,
oh my gosh.
It was like, when I say I went probably 6 or 8 weeks at one point, where the only human I saw was Tyler. Like, he's getting to go to work and he's getting to see people and talk, and like, life is still kind of normal. Yeah, we're not going out after work, but I am literally stuck in the house. And then add that, so that's our 2nd year of marriage. Is we thought moving to England was going to be like this 2-year honeymoon of travel and all of these things, and it's not. It's you're going to be stuck in the house together and watch a lot of TV and read a lot of books. Yeah. And that was it.
A whole new layer of getting to know one another. Yeah. Like, wow. So y'all get stationed somewhere else.
Yep. We get orders to Hawaii. And I remember, definitely didn't.
Sounds so terrible.
Didn't ever think that we were going to get that assignment. It really was just like we'll just put our name and just see what happens. And I remember the night before we like really submitted like what our list was, I couldn't sleep. And I remember praying that like, send us where it's going to be good to start a family, like what's going to be best for our family and where we're going to grow. And I probably, now that I look back at it, it was a selfish prayer of, I never thought we were going to get those assignments, and I wanted to go back to Warner Robins. So it was, we're going to grow, like best place to have our family start would be Warner Robins with our family. Where we're going to grow, we can go back to Southside and like we're going to get involved in a church. Like, I can see that now, that's what I wanted. So that's what I thought God would do. But we went to Hawaii, and again, it's a great place. But I had told, I think J. Ray, that I came here before moving to Hawaii just to visit family. And I remember telling him, like, I'm so excited to find a church this time. Like, right away, we need to find a church and get plugged in. And didn't do it again because it's still uncomfortable. It's still hard. And I didn't know people who were going to church. So, like, there's not that invitation. Yeah. So, definitely happier in Hawaii. And obviously, like, there's just, I didn't realize how depressed I was in England until I got to Hawaii. And I was like, oh, that's what depression feels like. I ended up getting pregnant in September of 2022, so our first year there, and people are visiting us. Like, it's just like life is going good at this point, but we're still missing that church plugged in, that community aspect. We have friends, but not community, I would say. When Kate was about like 8 months old, someone in our neighborhood Facebook group posted that she just wanted to get together in the park once a week. She homeschooled her kids, and she said, every Monday at 9:00, we're going to be in the park, and I would love to get moms who are seeking community together to pray and just do motherhood together. And I remember seeing it, and that is so far outside of my comfort zone to go meet a stranger and like finding community that way. I just felt like I needed to know about someone first to be like, are we going to be a good fit or not? But I just felt this push to just do it, like just go. And Tyler even said he was worst case scenario, you never see her again. Like, it's not a big deal. And I ended up going the next day, and I think there was one other mom there maybe. And I just started becoming friends with Andrea, was the mom who invited us. And I would go every week, and we would just talk right away. She's like, here's my number if you ever need anything. She asked if we went to church, and I was like, no, we haven't found a church. We're open to it. But Kate is still napping all the time. She's napping on me. Yeah. So I wasn't going to put her in a nursery. There was just all these things that I was like, I'm not ready. But we stayed friends, and we would hang out. And then she finally was like, hey, our community group is going to get together for the 4th of July. You and Tyler should come. And me and Tyler both were like, are you sure? Like, we don't go to your church. We're not in your community group. And she was like, everyone would love for you to come. And we went, and everyone was so nice, so welcoming. No one was really pushing the fact that we weren't going to church, but they're like, can't wait till you can come. And that would have been July. And I think we started watching online, and so that we could go to small group and talk, like be in the community group. And then we started going to church after that. And I think, again, after all of that, I could see that my excuse for not going to a church was always just going to church isn't going to mean that I found community. You have to go to church and talk to people.
Yep.
Me and Tyler are both pretty quiet people, and I knew that I would go and then leave right after. I'm not going to hang out and meet people. So God answered that in a big way. He used my excuse, and he said, okay, well, I'm going to give you community, and you're going to get plugged in with these people. So the first Sunday we went to church, I had people to talk to during greeting. After church, we had people to talk to and hang out with. I didn't feel like the new outsider. It didn't feel uncomfortable. And that was my specific excuse that God was like, this is where you're supposed to be. These are your people that you need to be with. And I don't know if we would have even found that church if it hadn't been for Andrea.
Just the power of an invite, truly.
1,000%.
And like that really
big.
is that she knew that like I was a Christian and, you know, stuff like that. But I wouldn't have gone if she wouldn't have brought it up. And that's huge. I think how often did like Christians actually invite people to church? And our pastor says it a lot there. It's 2%. 2% of Christians a year invite people to church. And that's really sad. And it changed my life. It changed Tyler's and my daughter's life. Like we would still just be sitting at home on Sundays because we wouldn't have done it ourselves. And I know that's on us, that it's not... I can still go find a church, but that invitation to just make you feel more comfortable, that's something that I'm like, wow, that changed my life. I need to do that for people. Like, I need to make people feel welcomed when they come.
How does it look being a part of a different church now in Hawaii with another group of people? Like, you've only ever known Southside. You didn't go to church in England. Like, so this is a whole new community. So when you finally do get plugged in there, like, are you starting to feel any difference, see any differences, like, in your spiritual walk now, because this is now out of your comfort zone?
Yeah, it was the best thing for me. I think growing up in Southside, it was like, she's a Coleman. There was like a pressure almost of like, you can't mess up. You shouldn't, like, she's a Christian, like she's good. I think here, no one knowing who I was, there was like this comfortability in that, and that I felt like I could talk more openly about like what I'm struggling with or like what we need. And I didn't have to have like a facade of who I was. And so a few months into like going to church and being part of a small group, I started wrestling with, am I a Christian, or am I like, do I believe? Do I just believe in God? And I wasn't talking to anyone about that. It was a really private thing because I was very confused.
Yeah.
And I just remember January 1st, the church started a challenge of just read the Bible in a year. Something I'd always wanted to do, something I had tried before, but stopped really early on. And I started doing that, and it was so early on, but I was like, I have never done this. I have been a Christian my whole life. And I used to brag about how many books I'd read in a year. And I was like, I've never read the Bible. Like, it might be a check mark that I would do for a few weeks, but I just felt like I was hearing messages for the first time with completely different mindset. And the Bible just going, how have I neglected this my whole life? How much easier life could have been if I would have known that there was this love letter of how to do life. And I just remember one night I was sitting in bed, and as I read every day when I would highlight, I would go back and write what I highlighted on note cards of scripture so that I could go back and read. Once, you get past something, you kind of forget. So I wanted to have scripture to go back to that this stuck out to me. And so I was just going back and writing scripture, and I had worship music playing. And I just remember feeling this pull of like, you have never surrendered your life to me. And I got down on my knees, and I knew, I'm like, God, I have believed in you, and I've prayed to you when I wanted to and when I needed something, and I've thanked you. Like, there was that I knew of him, but I didn't know him, and there was no desire to get to know him and to grow. And I think if your faith has never changed since you were a kid, that's not that's not something to be proud of. We should be growing. And I was ready to finally grow and know who he was. And even at that point, I didn't tell anyone about that night because it's still one, I was like, that's a weird thing. I don't want to tell people that. It almost felt like I had been faking it. Like I didn't want people to think I had all the right answers. Like I'm sitting in our small group and I can answer things. I can tell you about things that happened in the Bible, or give you advice. So I didn't want people to think that I had been faking it. I didn't know that I had been faking it up until that moment. And I think Kim was the first person I started talking about it with, that I was just like, I'm trying to figure it out, like what this means. Like I know that I'm saved now, but what did it mean before? And I just started listening to any message that I could listen to. Like I remember one day I'm like sending her links to messages and she goes, "What have you been doing all day? Just listening to sermons?" And I was like, "Yes." That's what I was doing. But
she was looking for an explanation. How do I define what's going on right now? And we both kind of went back and forth on it, and it just is like, it's salvation. This is salvation. This is like knowing God and growing in God, and not just checking off the boxes.
It would have been more comfortable to just stay the same. There was a lot to come out and tell people that like, hey, this is what I'm going through. That was really uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. I would say honestly, a huge thing was actually your podcast of like hearing people not just say, hey, I was this bad person, I got saved and everything's good, but like there is still sin and struggle after salvation, and I don't think Christians talk about that a lot. I think we like to have this life is good and life is perfect and I don't mess up anymore, but we do. We're sinners still. And just being able to talk about that and have a realness to that, like through your podcast of hearing all these people that are in church, and it just made me feel okay. Like there was a little bit of explanation in that. And there was a message from J. Ray that 2 years ago had just stuck out to me. And it never left the back of my mind. And I wasn't even at church when he preached that service. I watched it online, and I finally went back and found it, and I listened to it, and it was about the parable of being a wheat or a weed. And they grow together, and we'll never know until the day God comes back when we're separated. And you can look like a Christian and you'll be standing in the gates of hell. And he was like, your pride, like losing your pride means nothing, or eternity in hell. Yep. And so that was probably where I was like, okay, that's what it was. I was a weed. I can look like a Christian, I can sound like a Christian, but I wasn't. And I'd already said the prayers, and at that point, the church had put out that they were going to be doing a baptism Sunday, and I knew right away, like, okay, I want to get baptized. Yes, I've been baptized as a child, but that I would even say was probably, like, I knew it was the next thing to do as a kid, but it also was like, let me do this in front of everyone, like, this is the next,
It was a dunk. It wasn't
for approval. Yeah, it was, let me get the next thing of approval for people. I would have got baptized in Hawaii if not another person I knew was going to be there. Like, I wanted to do that. At that point, Tyler also decided to get baptized too. It was a personal choice. The first time he was baptized, it wasn't exactly his decision to be baptized. So we just started talking about it. We wanted to do it together. It felt like it was for me and God that time. Like, yes, it's a public display for other people too, but it wasn't, like Kim had joked, she's like, can't you wait till I'm in Hawaii? Like, to do, like, I want to be there for you. And I would have loved to have my family there, but it was almost even better that it was like just me and Tyler and the church that we're now in, and like the way the church showed up for us, because we don't do it in church. Like most churches, we actually go after church and we go down to the beach and did it. So it was like the fact that people came back after, they might have gone to first service or whatever it was, like the church showed up for us and they didn't know us. And it was just one of the most beautiful things to experience.
I made a joke with Kim when she told me that you got rebaptized, and I was like, what, on the beach? And she was like, no. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, on the beach in Hawaii, she got baptized. And I was like, oh my gosh, that is so amazing.
And I think something really cool too that we were talking about with our small group afterwards is that like you usually get baptized in the church around other believers. We got baptized on the beaches of Hawaii where most people are not believers.
Yeah.
And have people like watching and seeing that is like, even like we had someone come up afterwards and was like, what is this? What church you go? Like just asking. And I just think even that was really cool to see like your testimony, like right there, what we decided that day already had people asking questions.
Absolutely. So let's kind of jump into what your sisterhood looks like now, maybe, right? Because you just said you had a big change in your life. You saw fruit start coming from this new decision, you know, like how does that change y'all's relationship?
I think it changed our conversations.
1,000%. We used to joke that we would have a podcast, and it would have been absolutely about pop culture and The Bachelor.
Reality TV and gossip. Like that, it really is.
Heavy on the gossip.
And I feel like through that time of me figuring things out, we were like helping each other. We're sending messages to each other, podcasts. Like it just did. Like we're talking about like our faith now. And that's just not something that we ever were like bonding over.
No, definitely not bonding over. It might like be like, oh, you should check out this message. J. Ray just did a really good message, or Pastor Benny did a great message. Like you should tune in. So, but 3 months ago, you invited me to the Grove, Alexis, and I told you at the end of the night, like that message wasn't for you. Like you were ready to get up and leave, which is fine. But I went down to the altar that night because that whole message, I just was shrinking in my chair like more and more. Because she talked about the way her brother had bullied her growing up. And the entire message, I had never looked back at the way I treated Stephanie. So we're bringing it back to the beginning. I didn't see how that was shaping her. It shaped her self-worth into making those decisions. And I'm not going to take, full blame by any means. But her insecurities were because of me and the way I talked to her. And the things I made her believe about herself were because of the way I lashed out of my insecurities. And that was the first time I'd ever looked through God's lens. And the worst part is, and this is what I truly apologized for a day later, was me and my mom, we laugh about it now. We make jokes about it now and like expect her to laugh with us. And she usually does play it off. But I had never looked through God's lens and thought about that was not okay at all. I think I even like played it off as like, well, that's what big sisters are for. We shape you. Now you're, a stronger person for it. Like, haha. So like that night, I broke down, felt horrible, prayed, and something I almost pray daily now is rid me of myself. Like, stop letting me look through life through my lens. I need to look through God's lens. What is pleasing to him? What is honoring to him? I have kids. I don't want Cohen to do that to Mallory. I don't want Mallory to do that to Cohen. I can't stand that I did that to her. So the very next day we were on the phone and I was trying to work it up to getting to tell her we have little ones that don't care for deep conversations. So I think we finally, we were kind of talking about the Grove and then all of a sudden it was like, we gotta go. Like, end this. And then I think it was the next day we were texting and I don't know if...
You sent it out of nowhere.
Yeah, I think it was something that popped up in my head, though. Like, it doesn't matter. But it popped up in my head, and all of a sudden I was like, you didn't get to it. You did not apologize for it, and it is something that you could keep brushing under the rug. But I just felt like now is the time, like, you need to apologize for what you did. So I did text her out of the blue and said, I know we're best friends. I know you love me. It is the apology you never got, but I am so sorry. Like, how that affected you. Now I can see, like, that wasn't, dad issues or it wasn't, anybody else's, like, self-worth talk to you. It wasn't your fault that you did those things. Like, I all of a sudden realized how much of a role I played in those years for her. And so I apologized. And the fruit of all of that was that Stephanie had been talking to her small group about it. She had been saying, we don't like confrontation. She had been talking to them and saying, that's the apology I'll never get. I'm not going to ask for it because I don't want to bring it back up or make them, the fear is that I'm going to make her feel silly for even wanting an apology or being like, I was so young, whatever. Why do you care about that? We're 20 years down the road. So that was something she had been praying for, or someone probably was praying for you in your small group, asking for that apology. So I feel like that's just like the kind of things that like sisterhood and have changed for us, is that taking ownership now as adults for our behavior.
I think we're just like a lot more encouraging to each other too, of like we can talk about anything, but not just let it be venting and complaining, but like encouraging each other in being a better wife, being a better mom. We can share anything. But just having that encouragement that I don't think we get from a lot of people, and we know each other. We know all of our faults, but we also can build each other up and know what we need.
Yeah. So you mentioned this about how the message wasn't for me that night. Like I was getting up to leave and I like look back and Kim's like crying and I'm like, oh my gosh. So I go to say that and preface, what was going on, because God speaks to us in so many different ways. And like, even though he didn't speak to me that day, like he spoke so boldly to you, like you had a revelation that night. And you're like, I want to walk out of these doors a better person than when I came. Right. And that's what we go to church, like, and always are praying for and all this. Like, I never want to go into these four walls and be the same person when I leave. And for you that night, that completely changed.
That was our first time going to the Grove together.
And I tried to walk out and leave.
But again, goes back to the power of an invitation. Yeah. Like she wouldn't have gone to the Grove by herself.
I had been wanting to go. I mean, I just moved here 6 months ago. And I had been wanting to go when I was living up there. Yeah. It just, looked like a great night, people our age. And it just, it was something that always kind of was just this pull. Like, I would love to go to something like that. And I started, once we, were living here, I started seeing it again. And I wasn't going by myself. Yeah. So Alexis invited me.
Well, too, like that goes back into he works all the things out for the good. Like all these little seeds that planted along the way when you're at Rock Springs, which y'all probably heard about Rock Springs last week or whatever. I don't even know how to fake it. But like, you had the idea about the well at Rock Springs. Then you get here and we start talking. I trauma dump on you the first day that we hang out. And then I invite you to the Grove. And then like all these things just built up so that you and your sister can, one, reconcile what had happened in the past. That's so big. That's so big to actually even admit, to go back and say, I am so sorry that, I played a part in this insecurity and this life that you had to endure because of how I acted towards you. That's so big. And then two, just for us to all sit down and talk about the goodness and what he's done in our lives, like that is just so big. As we begin to wrap up, as we begin to like come to the end of this, is there some stuff that maybe you haven't said more so, Stephanie, that you really wanted to talk about, or Kim, you too? Like, is there something that y'all really wanted to hit on?
I think motherhood also has been like a really big visual for me of God's love. That when I tell my daughter, Kate, no, don't do that, that it's not because I'm being mean or that I'm just whatever, I don't want her to do that. It's like, I'm trying to keep you safe. I'm trying to protect you from something, and yet she doesn't understand that. But as I'm doing it sometimes to her, as I'm telling her no over and over again, I'm like, man, how many times did God tell me no? And it wasn't because it's like, I don't want you to do that, but because he was protecting me and I would ignore it. And just seeing his love in that, like, I love my daughter so, so much, and it doesn't even compare to the way that God loves us. And I think that, and just like the ministry of motherhood, I stay home with Kate, and so I'm not working. And so I think a lot of times we can struggle with that of like, well, what is my ministry? Like I need to be doing more. And I think motherhood is one of the most beautiful ministries, and it's not just me and my child, but it's anyone I come in contact to. Like, I meet more people now just playing outside with her, meeting neighbors, meeting people in like her gymnastics class, whatever it is. I am actually forced to talk to people now. And I like just can see these little changes of telling someone what church I go to. And like before I probably would have been like, well, I don't want to make them uncomfortable. But now I'm like, if you need a church, you should come check out our church, or, or like just telling them that, oh yeah, we're in a community, or just like, I might not be pushing it on them, but just like those little seeds that I probably would have never even talked about before, just to keep them from being uncomfortable. And now I see it that Andrea, as how she invited us to the park, she wasn't trying to get anyone saved. She wasn't trying to get anyone to church. It really was just spending time with other moms. And I see that now for myself of like, what can I be doing in motherhood? What is the time I'm given that I get to stay home that most people don't get? What can I be doing with this? And we are military. I know that at the end of this year, we're going to move again. We don't know where we're moving to and what that's going to look like. Hopefully here, like that's, we're all,
but God's will, we know, but yeah.
But I think that's the biggest thing that I have to see now is, a few years ago I was praying, okay, where are we going to grow? But like this time, no, really, like send us where we need to be. Obviously for Tyler's job, but obviously like, what can I be doing? What can I do for the kingdom through motherhood? And what that ministry looks like for me.
Yes, I love that. That is so good. One thing you said is like Andrea wasn't like seeking anything, like she wasn't getting a reward. And I really did see this TikTok and they were like, what do people think Christians are doing? Because I'm not getting anything out if you come to church or save. Like, I'm just trying to tell you about the good news. I'm trying to help you lead this way, but like, I'm not personally getting a bonus, like a check.
She didn't even get to, we're military. We're all moving at different times. Man. She wasn't even there by the time I got baptized. She was there for me to get into a small group and maybe the first month of us being at church. And she even was saying like, I know a lot of people are moving out of your small group this year and you might want to join a different one because to get more plugged in because we're going to be there longer than the majority. And she even was like, whatever makes you feel. And I was like, no, I think this group is where we're supposed to be. Like, this is what's, and I remember texting her and be like, I'm getting baptized and this is what's going on. But she didn't even get to be there for that. And I think that's, sometimes we want that. We want to plant the seed, water the seed, watch it bloom for ourselves. And we're selfish in that way. But she didn't get to see all of that. And it's still just as impactful. And she'll always be part of my testimony and how much that meant to me. Like, it's huge.
I love that. So maybe Kim, do you have something that you want to wrap up today that I haven't really gave you the chance to talk about or say, or maybe you want to jump into about motherhood too?
I guess I'm just glad that we are getting to go through this. Our girls are like exactly 6 months apart and they're FaceTime besties, truly. Kate will wake up in the morning asking about Mal and ready to talk to her. But I'm really proud of you. I think you, in some way, actually for years, I think we've talked about this before, is that I do look up to you, for your boldness, especially right now. Like we said, like admitting all of this is really difficult. Your boldness and your resiliency in motherhood, you are a better wife than I am, I think, a lot of the times. But you are that person that I look up to too. And I think that's why it's so easy to talk and be open with each other, because now we do just that accountability is so powerful, even thousands of miles apart.
So sweet. Oh my gosh. I just think it's so sweet. Like, I don't have any siblings. So like when I was talking to Kim about y'all coming on here, I was like, I really don't know like the dynamics of sisters or siblings or anything. But like, this has just been so special to like see the growth that like just hear the growth, I guess, and just to see y'all together and like be able to hang out with y'all yesterday and see, how y'all really are best friends. Like just the way y'all talk and your mannerisms, I'm like, y'all are twins.
Same. Separated by 3 years.
Where have you been? Anyway. All right, guys, I think this is a great stopping point. I hope y'all enjoyed this as much as I have. This has been absolutely incredible. So stay tuned, stay blessed, and we'll see you guys later. Bye.